Networking. Let's talk about it. It's important always when you're job searching, but it's important in life in general to maintain a healthy network. Now, I just want to impress upon you the importance of doing it now. People are not mailing it in. I talked about this a couple days ago where I actually sent you a video on I think it was Tuesday, a couple days ago, about why now is such a great time to be job searching. And if you haven't seen that, I would highly recommend that you watch it, and I go through my entire rationale about why this is such a great time. I don't want to revisit that right now because I did it all for you nice in like an 8-minute video a couple days ago. But if you haven't seen that, maybe Stacy can drop that in the chat. But why now is the best time of year to job search. Now, just go with me on this. But one of the things that I want you to do is I want you to always target organizations, reach into bosses, target recruiters, target teammates. And I talked about who I would target inside organizations, that they will be receptive. But one of the things that I would also make sure that I'm doing this time of year, so kind of tip and reminder number one, make sure you are reconnecting with people that you've worked with in the past or friends you've lost touch with, or even people that you are still in touch with, because now is the easiest time. You've got the best excuse to send them a message to say, hey, it's November, it's December, it's the holiday season, it's the however you want to open it up, Merry Christmas, happy this or that, whatever it is. And I wanted to reconnect with you. I miss you. It's been a long while. I'm trying to do better about staying in touch with the people I love. I'd love to know what you're up to. And if you're up for a quick check-in before the holidays, or maybe in 2022 or the new year or whatever it is, I'd love to reconnect with you. That's it. Just get reconnected. You don't need to tell them that you're job searching. You don't need to tell them any of that stuff. Just try to get reconnected with them. Don't make it appear as though it's anything more than you just want to get in touch, and then start to rebuild those relationships or reestablish those relationships. You will be amazed at how many people will say, hey, you know what? I was thinking of you. I'm wondering what the heck you're up to. It's great to hear your voice. It's great to see your email. It's great to get your text. It's great to whatever. Okay, so I really want to impress upon you that now is the golden time to do that. And it's really November, December, January are the 3 months where you can really use that as your opener. Hey, it's a new year. I'm turning over a new leaf. It's the holiday season. I want to get caught up with long lost friends, whatever it might be. Believe me, there are a lot of people last year when I impressed upon you this tip that got jobs this way, who reconnected with old company alumni or friends that they used to work with. Now, I want to give you a couple of stories, networking related. I'm always trying to give you different examples to illustrate my points or to serve as reminders. And one of them is with he's a boot camper. He's in my job search coaching program. We call them boot campers because it used to be called the job search boot camp. He's also a lifetime leader in my leadership coaching. His name's Art. And Art actually joined me last year in 2020. And he jumped into the boot camp, and he went through the training, and wouldn't you know it, he got a job very quickly. So he did this in the last quarter of 2020. He took a new job in November of 2020. Here we are now, November 2021. In November of 2020, he took a new job with a pretty good company. And he said, I was in this, and he and I were doing a coaching session a couple weeks back because he was interviewing with a couple of very prominent companies. One of them is Google, and one of them is another very, very reputable organization. And they were, I asked him, how did you get this opportunity with this current company that we were mainly focusing on? This wasn't Google. And he said, well, it was interesting. He said, last year, after I joined your boot camp, I got a job, and I started in November, and December rolled around, and we were in one of these meetings, and we were on a Zoom session, and one of my coworkers, who wasn't really on my team, he was somebody that we interacted with. We had a multi-group Zoom session to run over some things. And he said they were really kind of browbeating this guy. So after the session, I reached out to him and I said, hey, hang in there. I'm sure everything's going to be great, this, that, and the other thing. And by the way, would you be open to sharing with me your address? I'd love to put you on my Christmas card list, something like that. So the guy gave him his address. So Art said, so I sent him a bottle of wine and a note and a couple other things, just as a, kind of a pick-me-up. And he said, and that spawned a great friendship. And the guy ended up leaving the organization not long after, but we stayed in touch. So now I would like to leave this organization for various reasons. And so I reconnected with this guy, and this guy used to work at this other company. And so he reached into that other company, and he said he called 4 bosses, he called the recruiting department, the HR department. He kept on them that they need to talk to me. I got an interview. I went in for interviews, and I didn't get a job. They actually chose somebody else. But I built such a great relationship with these people in the interviewing process, because I had a great introduction, and I really spent a lot of time with them through the interviewing process, that the boss called me back and he said, look, we really would like to work with you. We've got these other challenges. Could you create a job description for an opportunity for you to work with us? He ends up creating this job, and then he ends up getting this offer, and he ends up doubling his pay. And all of this occurs because he established a relationship with somebody that he was working with that he barely knew, but it was 'tis the season. It just coincidentally occurred at that time. But the point is, whether you are job searching or not, this is a great time to be planting seeds and building relationships with people, because these things, you just never know when you're going to need help, right? That expression about when's the best time to plant the tree 20 years ago, when's the next best time today, right? And the other expression about, well, you don't get to eat from the fruit from the tree on the day you plant it, kind of thing. You get the idea. And as a matter of fact, Art is now, I think, going to get an offer from Google next week, and he and I are going to be getting together next week. I don't know when you're watching this. Well, I know you guys are watching this right now, but if you're watching this on the recording, and I'm gonna spend some time with him, because I think his story is so awesome, how he went through this process, and there's so many golden nuggets in there. I wanna interact with him and maybe profile his case for you. So I hope you'll be hearing more about that. But my point is, just don't gloss over what's going on around you. Okay, in anything that you do, really experience what's happening, and also try to take that opportunity to get with others and build those relationships. It's just good to do, to support each other, but you also never know when you might need to tap into that. And so that's a great networking example. But I have another one, and I really had to chuckle with this. This one's even a little closer to home. It has to do with my niece Marissa, who is a teenager, in fact. And I'm always looking for ways to draw parallels for the professional stuff that I teach you guys, and the widespread applicability it has. But this one goes out to everybody from an analogy standpoint. I hope this cements what I'm about to tell you. But people in the academic profession, in other what they consider to be maybe non-corporate professions, is think about this. So my brother, I have a brother and 2 sisters. They're all younger. My brother's nearly 10 years younger than I am. The three siblings of mine have 9 kids between the 3 of them. They're a fertile bunch, and so I have 9 nieces and nephews, ages say 12 to about 18. And they're the nicest, most respectful kids. They're all hard workers. And I think probably the most important thing for you to know about my nieces and nephews is they all think Uncle Andy is famous. And that's really all that matters, is that they all now want to be YouTubers because they think this is the greatest thing ever. But they got to go to school first. And Marissa is a teenager, and she's she's in her senior year in high school. So my brother and I were talking a little while back, and he said, we visited some of these big schools in the local area. They live on the West Coast. And he said, they're expensive, and, she likes the campuses, but, I think she really wants to play lacrosse. Now, I don't think of my niece as this super duper athlete or anything. I see the pictures on the family texts from her scoring, goals in lacrosse and, doing other things, but I never really imagined this, and I don't even think my brother did either. And he said, well, she really wants to play lacrosse. I said, okay. And he said, well, I don't know that she's any good. And I know she can't play at a Division I school, probably not even a Division II college. Maybe we need to think Division III. I said, well, if you're going to go investigate these, maybe you ought to think about her having to put a list of target schools together to see if as you investigate them, what does that sound like, right? A target list. You want to reach out to somebody, target lists of companies, target lists of people, but have her put this list of schools together. There's going to be company or organization or universities that you've never heard of. So she comes up with this list of Division II and Division III schools. And I said, don't have her fill out the application. Don't go through the application process, heaven forbid. You need to do some investigation. What does that sound like, right? You do a little research before you start shoving your resume into an applicant tracking system, which isn't very good. So, these high school students that have to put their applications into these systems that terrorize these kids, but I said, before you do any of that, figure out, reach out to these schools and perhaps reach out to the coaches. So what does that sound like, right? The boss hunting techniques, targeting teammates, and so on, right? So go to the people who do the hiring, so to speak. So he reaches out. I said, just reach out to a handful, see what kind of responses you get. He reaches out to a handful of them. And one of these coaches was at a school that he'd never heard of in Fort Lewis in Durango, Colorado. And he said, so I reached out to her. I had no idea who she was. I said, I explained who I was. And he said, I have a daughter and she would like to play lacrosse. I don't know if she's any good, but what is this process that we would go through? Could you give me some help? Would you let me know, what the process would be with you, or just in general, any help you can give me, I would welcome. Something like that. Does that sound like a networking template that I would give you? So if you haven't seen my networking messages and the emotional trigger points that go in when you need to open up a dialogue, go check that out. So he sends these messages, and the coach in Durango gets back to him and says, is your daughter's name Marissa? So now obviously my brother is like, what? How could you possibly know my kid? We live multiple states over. And the coach wrote back, is your daughter's name Marissa? If it is, she's plenty good to play here. How about we set up a visit and you come out and we'll set you up for a couple days and you can meet some of the players and me, and we'll give you a tour and all that other good stuff. I'll send you a packet. We'll arrange a date. So she went out there and had a overnight stay. My brother said it was unbelievably organized. He said, and I was talking to the coach, and the coach said to me, normally when in lacrosse in some of these schools, especially the smaller ones like us, he said, and the girls come in, and as freshmen and sophomore, they don't really play a lot on the team because they're just not as good as the girls who are juniors and seniors. They develop a bit more. But since we have a new program, and your daughter's plenty good, because I was aware of her because I had coached her in some summer camp the year or two before. So she'd known my niece. So that was how she made the connection. And my niece just signed her, commitment letter or whatever it is, going that route to this school. So now she's going to get to go to a nice school. It's not terribly big. They'll probably pay about a third of her tuition and room and board and all that good stuff. And so, this is the way the world works. But it doesn't work this way if you don't take the 5 minutes to send the message to somebody to put yourself in play. The art of the possible is always out there. The reason it might not be happening for you is because you're not taking enough chances. So this is another view at how the world works. If you give it a chance to help you, I think now is just a great time of year to do this. I think people in general do want to help you in general, but I think this time of year, they especially want to help you. So I really want to encourage you to do that. And I hope Art's story and Marissa's story inspires you to just take those steps. But at a minimum, It doesn't make any difference how reluctant you are. I think there's nothing wrong, and you would agree with me, that sending a message to a long-lost colleague or somebody you enjoyed working with and just saying, hey, I'm so sorry we lost touch and I'd love to get reconnected, and I'm trying to turn over a new leaf, or whatever you want, right? We call it falling on the sword, so to speak, but it's just a great technique to be using now. It's a great technique to be using always, but I think you can take advantage of it for the next 10 or 12 weeks. So I hope that helps, and I hope that encourages you. But I wanted to warm up, this session with those stories. I mean, they just happened over the last couple weeks, and I just was thrilled with both of them, and I appreciate all the success messages that have been coming in from my boot campers and my leaders and other people in the community who are job searching. And I encourage you all, and I'm going to be here with you a lot during this holiday season. So I hope you enjoyed that. And if you're here with me live, let's go to the chat. If you watch this on the recording, I'll see you next week.